Hey guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and give you a quick review and my initial thoughts on this new bike that I got. It's a 2018 Triumph Bobber Black. It is a new model for this year, and it's taken from the regular Triumph Bobber that came out last year. As you can see, it does definitely look a little bit different, and it does have a little bit different styling. It is the black version. Okay, so right off the bat, you're going to notice that what's different is that it's all black. Now, I opted for the matte black option. Okay, and they do have a shiny black option. That's a bag that I added afterwards. I'll put a review. I'll put a link to the review that I did on that. But you'll notice right away that she just looks different. Other than that, main difference is the same engine, but it's been tuned differently, a little bit for performance, and obviously to go up on that performance, the exhausts are different as well. I'm sorry for the noise, my daughter's out here with me. To take advantage of that performance change, you're immediately going to notice that the front tire is a little bit thicker. So this is a 16-inch wheel. The Triumph Bobber has a 21-inch wheel. And also in the front, you're going to notice that the forks are thicker. They're at 47 millimeter. The Triumph Bobber was a little bit smaller. As well as having dual brakes. These are Brembo brakes, as opposed to the single disc that was on the regular Bobber. Okay, everything else pretty much stays the same. As far as controls, stylish and whatnot, but I do get a cruise control on this, which is really cool, and I've tested it out. Now, you saw that at the beginning of the video, but I'm really happy with this. It remains at the 1200 cc. It's a 2.2 gallon tank, I think. Gets me about 100 miles. I've seen it go between 49.1 and 49.8 miles to the gallon. I drive it conservatively. I don't hammer it. But yeah, I'll give you my initial thoughts on this. See how I like it, and if you guys own one or are thinking about buying one, feel free to ask questions. I'll be more than happy to answer what I can. Thanks, guys. All right, guys, read it out. Let's take a ride on my 2018 Bobber Black. I just brought her in for service, and so for Triumphs on these Bobbers, you bring them in for the first 500 miles for the first service, and then it's 10,000 miles every year after that. So it's not bad maintenance, unlike a Harley that's going to be first 500 miles, and then I think it's 2,500 miles maintenance, and then I think it's 5,000 miles maintenance, and I think it's 10,000 miles every 10,000 miles after that. So Triumph, at least for the Bobbers, and I gotta check on, I think it's all the Bonnevilles now that are coming out. It is 500 miles first maintenance. They double check everything. They did everything beautiful on the bike, and I'll show you the bike after I get off the ride here. But basically, oh shit, I'm not gonna be able to come out this way. But basically what they did is they checked everything, make sure that everything's working right. Obviously change the oil, check the seals, check the chain, lube the chain, tighten the chain, anything like that. Make sure that it's running fine after you did that initial 500 miles. And they don't want you to actually within that 500 miles be doing any high stuff. So no high RPMs, no having steady RPMs. In other words, don't use the cruise control, right? Basically what they want to make sure is that you're not overdoing the engine within that first 500 miles. So that's what happened. I took it in, and I'm just bringing her out now. I've had the bike for about 3 weeks, and I really love it. It rides really smooth. It rides a lot different than the Bobber. The original Bobber only has a single front caliper. It also has the 20-inch wheel or 21-inch wheel, can't remember, in the front. This one has a fatter tire in front. It's got a 16-inch wheel. And you can feel the difference, and you can feel the difference in the stopping power as well.
So, you know, that's something that I'm really happy with. She feels sturdy. She's nimble. She's not as clunky as a cruiser would be. She's quick. And man, that torque, I love that torque. But yeah, I've been pretty happy with it. I haven't had any problems with it whatsoever. She starts up, let her warm up for a couple minutes, and off I go. Nothing really to get used to. If you've ridden motorcycles, you've ridden motorcycles, you know, and they're pretty much all the same. Now, one thing that I have noticed is that the suspension on it is got only a certain amount. So, you know, if you hit a pothole, you hit a bump, you will feel it on the seat. The ground clearance is not high, you know. It looks higher. It definitely looks higher than my V-Star 650, but ground clearance is still a little bit low on this. About the same as a maybe a sports bike. But she does look high, but you know, she's not. The handlebars are really comfortable. I thought they might wear on my shoulders, being the position that they're at, but they work really well. I think probably later this year or early next year, I'm going to invest in the ape hangers. Just give it a different look and maybe change the bars out every year. Just give it a different look. But I like this. It's not too bad for long journeys. I'll drive an hour to work every day, and it's pretty comfortable. One thing you do got to get used to, though, this is one of the tightest clutches I've ridden. Really responsive, though. Really nice, but it will tire out that left hand of yours. If anything, your forearms are going to be humongous, right? Just keep that in mind. It is a nice bike. I really like it. Really happy with it. And I'll definitely be keeping it for a long while. It's a nice mixture between a street bike and a cruiser. Not quite one or the other, but really cool. And I mean, I get a lot of looks and I get asked a lot of, you know, what is it? Get stopped a lot. Get challenged a lot as well. But you know, I don't have it for racing. I have it for cruising and getting to work and whatnot. Yeah, if you're thinking about it, it is a pretty cool ride. They run about, I think I paid MSRP for this for $13,400. It is the matte black version. So I think all in with taxes and everything in my state, I think it was a little under $15,000 of what I paid, or a little over, maybe $15,100 out the door. I didn't put any money down on it. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. Oh, I didn't even look. They replaced my tail lights, so I guess I should look at that. Yeah. So they told me that my tail lights were loose, and they replaced them, which was pretty cool. So the first service ran about $352. Just keep in mind it might vary, you know, where you're at. You know, it could be more, it could be less. So a little bit about the Bobber Black. It is a 6-speed. I had my own questions, you know, about shifting. And it looks like probably maybe about 3,000 RPM to be conservative. 3,200 is where I'm shifting right now. Any higher than that, or if I run any gear in high RPMs, so not too high, I think the red line on this is 7,000. So this maybe just under, maybe 6,500. I got to read the book again. But I shifted at about 3,200 to 3,500 RPM. Seems to do fine there. That's really when the torque's kicking in as well. If you do it at about 3,000 RPM, you're going to get a little under. You know how you shift into the next gear too early, and you kind of get that bobble. So now that she's worn in and I've got new oil and everything, I'm curious to see where she's going to feel comfortable shifting. So as soon as I'm able to get across here and get on the freeway, we'll go ahead and take a look at it, and hopefully you guys can hear as she's changing. Well, the only thing that I really don't like about this is that they have the high beams over here, my front finger, so it's like a trigger pull. There's been a couple times that I've had to honk at people for trying to come into my lane, And when I do, I tend to hit this button right here. That's the high beams. You can see that they're high there. And I've hit it a couple times on accident when I've honked at people. So I noticed that I do that when I grab. Whether or not you might do that or not, I don't know. I do. So I found myself doing that, and conscientiously I'm having to avoid that. Anytime that happens, well, obviously I don't want that to happen too often. I don't want to be cut off by people, but it happens, you know, as you're driving. And the turn signal lights aren't automatic, so it's not like on a Harley or newer Harleys where it's automatic turn off on the turn signals. You do have to manually cancel that turn signal. But I do like the fact that I can take a look at a bunch of different stuff on my instrumentation panel here. And it's a small gauge, but it's a lot of information. Right now I've got RPMs, I can have the time. It's always showing me the gear that I'm in as well, and my fuel. It will give a low fuel light whenever you're down to about half a tank, a little less than half a tank. And that'll get you about 25 miles or so. It does give me the range of fuel that I got left, how many miles it estimates. It does give you fuel consumption, which is really cool. And I'll go through those later. And you know, it kind of gauges now. Now I have found that they say it's about 50 miles per the gallon, 51 miles per gallon, something like that. So I do get about 100 miles out of it. It's not a bad dip. And I do find myself filling up like every tank and a half, so maybe every other day, because I go about 26 miles to work, 26 miles home, but sometimes I take a long way around, which is 37 miles. So I can put in a day and a half probably close to 100, close to, let's say 80 miles, maybe 70, 80 miles. And then the low light comes on, and I'll put it in as soon as the low light comes on. I don't like to run it low or too low. I think the lowest I've run it, I had 5 miles on it, and I'm not doing that again. That's just because I refuse to pay certain prices at certain gas stations by work. Because where I work is kind of posh. By posh, I mean fancy, and obviously in the nicer neighborhoods. Here in Austin anyway, there is just absolute price gouging when it comes to gas, and these people will pay it because they got nowhere else to go. You know, they live in these little neighborhoods there. And okay, let's start off second gear here, and they'll pay it. So 4,000 RPM on that. Second gear, third gear, 4,000 RPM, 60 miles per hour. 36, 3,800, 4,000 RPM, 70 miles per hour in fifth gear, and I've still got 6 to go. And I gunned that. I'm at 80 miles per hour at 3,850 comfortably. Wow, yeah, she picks up nicely, man. I used to have a VFR 800, 2002, and I loved the torque on that one and the way it picked up as well. It reminds me a lot of that bike. This is a parallel engine. That's a V-twin, or a V4, I'm sorry. So it is a little bit different style engine, but I do like the way that this picks up very nicely. Let's go. I'm comfortably again at 60 miles an hour, fourth gear, 3,400 RPM, 3,450. So she's going between 34 and 35 as I'm picking it up. Now it's 70, fifth gear, cruising along at 3,100, 3,200 RPM. Very nice. And then just so I don't waste gas, I pop it into sixth gear, and she drops down to 2,900 RPM at 70 miles an hour. So she rides really nice. Here I'm at 72, now at 3,000. So around 70 miles an hour, sixth gear, you're going to flow between 2,900 and 3,100 RPM. And obviously the faster you go, the more it's going to pick up. Let's try 80. I'm at 80, 3,400 RPM. So she's not struggling at all. I love it. I've got a V-Star 650, and to get her up to this speed, it is a struggle. It is not a, that is a true cruiser. This bike is such a mix between a cruiser and a road bike. I love it. I'm keen to try this cruise control now. I'm going 70. Let me leave it at 75 for a little bit. I'm going to turn it on, and I'll set. Nice. 70 miles an hour. The green light's on for cruise control. Probably about 72, 73. And if I brake or if I give it gas, she should turn off. But that's a pretty nice feature. It definitely help you rest at wrist if you're going, especially like me, where I hit those long stretches of road on the way to work. So, let's talk a little bit about controls, and we've got start stop here. It's recommended for the Triumph bobber to start it while it's in neutral. Then when you do turn it off, you turn it off by key, not by the emergency stop. And then that way, when you do stop it in neutral, we'll go ahead and put it in first after. Just, I guess, for the longevity of the gears. This is my mode changing button here. That's what turns on and off the, not the traction control, but the rain control. So what that mode will do is it will change it into rain mode, so that way there's less power going to that back wheel. So obviously there's less risk of any spinning on any wet surfaces, which is pretty cool, you know. Obviously you need as much help as you can in case you're caught in rain. I wouldn't ride this baby in the rain anyway, but it's nice to know that I have that feature if I do get caught out. Right under it is my hazard lights, which is a pretty cool feature for a bike. Not a lot of bikes have hazard lights. Usually big bikes do, big Harleys, big Goldwings, you know, stuff like that, but not a smaller bike like this. And although it's not small by any means, it is a 1200 engine. The size and the feel of the bike feels like a small, like a mid-sized sports bike, which is pretty cool. And then of course you've got your start button. Oh no, start button's on the left, I'm sorry. Start button's there, along with the off button. Sorry about that. Then we look on the left. It's early in the morning, guys, sorry. Then we look on the left, and I've got my information button. This is my button that's going to allow me to change my...
I did want to go over the controls one last time, just to make sure that you guys understand them. You probably didn't get them too good from my video, so I'll go over them real quick. Alright, as you can see here on the right hand side, we've got the starter, and we've also got the emergency cutoff. So this obviously has to be all the way on in order to turn on. Otherwise it's going to be emergency cutoff, and like any other bike you'll be able to turn it on. Here's my traction control. That's where I've changed my traction control. That's actually called a mode setting, right? And you'll be able to change that. Hazards underneath there, and obviously my accelerator and right brake. On the left hand side we have the information button right here. Okay, we have our turn signals here, we have our horn here, and we have the information button there, which allows me to change some settings in here, and we'll see that in a minute. The one thing that I don't really like, my high beams, they're over here, set up as a trigger. So this doesn't have daytime running lights, my specific model. My lights are always on, which I don't mind. I like it. It's kind of safe. But basically, there's been a couple times where I've hit the horn on somebody, and I've accidentally hit this light, and the high beams come on, and they think I'm flashing them. But you'll see that this is my turn signal. This is your high beam signal, your other turn signal, and then neutral. And then I don't know if you can see it on camera, but there's a light that blinks every, I guess, 30 seconds or every minute when the key's not in, and that's basically the alarm for it. So I'll go ahead and start it up now. Alright guys, I've started her up, so I'm just going to come in here on our main panel, and basically what we've got here is I've always got it on RPM. Alright, as you can see here, it tells me what gear we're in, my fuel, and as I go through these and I'll push that information button, you're going to be able to see a couple things. So first up is whether traction control is on or off. I've got that on right now. That is default. 794 miles total. So I haven't hit quite my 1,000 just yet. Trip A, 794.8. Trip B, 794.8. Then I've got my miles per gallon. So basically, as I'm on the road and I'm going, this will give me a number of what it currently thinks I'm using in miles per gallon, right? The next one will tell you my last trip at my miles per gallon. So my last trip actually on this was at 49.6 miles per gallon, which is really good that I get. Next, I've got actually how many miles I've got left on this. This is an estimate. As you go, the numbers are going to change as you're riding. And then I'll come back to my clock, and then obviously right back around to my RPM. Okay, so that's pretty much what that information button does. Pretty informative, all in that tachometer. I really like it.
Yeah, all in all, I would have to say that I am pretty happy with this bike, and not many bad things to say about it, if anything at all. Love it. It's comfortable, sweet. It's got the power where I need it, and I've got to say it looks fucking massively cool. You cannot beat the look of the matte black fucking bobber black. It looks a business, and after riding it for about a month almost, it fucking is the business. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed a little bit of this video added on to my last one. Reminder to subscribe if you want to see more. I'm always fucking trying out new shit. Probably not trying out new bikes. I'm not fucking rich after all. But reviews or whatever it is, see if you tell me if you like it. If you got a bobber black, if you got a bobber, let me know what's it like. If you guys like it, what don't you like? What do you think you could improve on? Overall, I've been riding bikes for 30 years now. I'd have to say I really like this bike. By the way, I am about 5'11" and about 198 pounds, so I fit the bike really well. So yeah, there's that, and fuck it, I just love it. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.